what is up my Shadowverse soldiers, and welcome back to another Shadowverse Evolved video. Alright soldiers, in today's video we're going to have my favorite craft, my personal brewing craft. We have Runecraft set 9 reveals, and what I've been hearing over and over again from conversations of having Shadowverse Evolved talk is that Earthright is going to finally be on the map. Earthright's meta, Earthright's here, so set 9, get ready to see some Earthright cards, because man oh man, Earthright is going to be hitting the ground running. And alright, we have our first card, Ceridwen, Eternity Hunter, so she's a 3 cost 3/3. You can evolve for 1, but when she comes into play Fanfare, Earthright, put a instant potion token into your EX area. Alright, so I'm very excited to see what this card looks like, because this is an absolutely beautiful card art. So one, I do want to figure out what that instant potion token really does. I hope it's going to be very helpful, especially since we're going to be using one of our amulets to put it into our EX area. And I couldn't wait to figure out what an instant potion token was, so let's figure out what it is. So it's a 2 cost spell, and you select an enemy following the field and deal 4 damage, and deal 2 damage to its leader. Alright, so it looks like we get advantages from the amulets we play before we play our legendary, and then we can spend 2 play points to go ahead and remove a follower off the field, and then deal damage to its leader. Alright, and then we have the Eternity Hunter evolve, so she turns into a 4/4, and while this card is on your field, the first Forbidden token you play each turn costs 2 less to play, and then on evolve, Earthright, you put an Eternal Potion token into your EX area. So being able to evolve the Eternity Hunter here allows us to play the instant potion token instantly as this is evolved, but if we also do the on evolve, we're probably able to play the Eternal Potion as well. Alright, and then next up we have Eternal Potion, so it's a 2 cost spell. You select a Runecraft follower in your cemetery that costs 3 or less play points, you summon it and give it rush, and at the start of your end phase, destroy this card. Alright, so it looks like this is the other spell token that you can use in your EX area that can be free from the Eternity Hunter's ability, and there are a lot of Runecraft followers that are 3 or less that you can collect from your cemetery. That one of them being Riley, that can be one of the big cards that helps you draw 2, or to deal 5 to something, and then on top of that, her having rush is amazing too. Alright, next up we have Truthseeker Faust, who's a 5 cost 4/4. At the start of your end phase, Earthright, select the follower on the field and give it +1/+1. Deal 2 damage to each enemy leader, but when he comes into play Fanfare, you search your deck for up to 2 Earth Sigil amulets with a total of original cost of 4 or less, and you put them into your EX area. This turn, they cost 0 to play. Alright, so this is a crazy cracked card just because you're able to just do this Fanfare effect and get 2 Earth Sigil amulets that cost 4 or less and put them into your EX area, and they're free. So that gives you removal, that gives you draw, that gives you healing, that gives you lots of options that you can choose from on turn 5. Alright, next up we have Mysterian Worm, so he's a 2 cost 2/2. You can evolve for 2 into a white worm or into a black worm. This ability can only be activated if there are at least 5 academic cards in your cemetery. But when he comes to play, you may discard an academic card, and if you do draw a card, otherwise put this card into your cemetery. Alright, it looks like with this card you need to have a full academic deck, because if you're not going to put an academic card into your cemetery off of this Fanfare effect, this card is going straight to your cemetery. Well, looking at the Mysterian White Worm, so he turns into a 5/5 and has ward, but on evolve you give your leader +3 defense. So for a total of 4 play points you get a 5/5 with ward that heals you for free. I think that's a pretty good takeaway. Alrighty, and then next up we have the Black Worm, so it turns into a 5/5, it has a sail, but on evolve you deal 3 damage to each enemy leader. Alright, so what I'm really enjoying about this card in general, or just this kind of combo, is that all of this costs 4. So essentially you can spend a total of 4 play points to get a 5/5 with a sail to deal 3 damage to an opponent, or you can get a 5/5 with ward and then you get to heal 3 for yourself. Alright, next up we have Snowman King, so it's a 6 cost 4/6, and while this card is on your field, followers that cost 3 play points or less can attack enemies. Last words, give your leader +3 defense. Alright, so this is a solid card, especially if your opponent's going to be playing really low to the ground after you've gotten to that turn 6. If you're doing what Runecraft wants to do, you're going to be removing all their followers as best as you can, and then your opponent's going to have to start top decking and playing that the best that they can with lower cost followers. Well, when you have Snowman King on the field, they're going to just sit there and just accumulate value, or they've done their fanfares and they're just bodies on the field. And this guy doesn't have wards, so if your opponent's going to remove this outside of banishing, you're going to heal 3. Alrighty, next up we have Absolute Zero Blade, so it's a 1 cost spell, you'll deal 1 damage each enemy follower on the field. Then if you have Spell Chain 10, you deal 1 damage each enemy follower on the field, and then if you have Spell Chain 15, deal 1 damage each enemy follower on the field. Alright, so I know that's how it's worded and how I read it, but I think how it works is the card initially does 1 damage each follower on the field like Angelic Barrage, but Runecraft does kind of focus on that Spell Chain thing, so being on Spell Chain 10 deals 1 extra damage, so you'll be dealing 2, and then if you have Spell Chain 15, you'll be dealing 3 damage each enemy follower on the field for 1. Alrighty, next up we have Brigitte Onion Patch Master. So she's a 3-cost 3/3. You can evolve for 1, but when she comes into play, you look at the top 5 cards of your deck. You may put up to 2 Onion Patch from among them onto your field and put the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. Yes, the Onion deck. I'm very excited to talk about this personally myself on the channel. I know it's going to be one of the later decks I'm talking about, more of the fun decks to play around with, but I'm very excited to talk about it all the same. And looking at the Onion Patch Master evolve, so she turns into a 4/4, and while this card is on your field, your Onion Patch deals 1 more damage. You can also activate for 1 play point to engage this card, and you search for your deck for up to 2 Onion Patch, summon them, and then shuffle your deck. So of course we're going to get into what the Onion Patches do in general, but having a 3-cost follower that's going to help us for our engine to get more Onion Patches on the field, and filling up as many spaces as we can with onions is going to be pretty cute and a very fun game plan. Alright, but next up we have Paula, Student Teacher. She's a 3-cost 3/3. When she comes into play, you draw a card, and if there are at least 5 academic cards in your cemetery, you recover 1 play point. So what I've known as a common thing for the academic followers is either they get their reduced cost, or they're going to be drawing you cards, like Craig. So Craig draws you a card and then discards you a card, but when we play Paula, Student Teacher, and we have 5 academic cards in our cemetery, which we should have at least 5 because our opponent's going to be answering our board, and we're going to be using cards like Craig that draw and discard cards. We're going to be recovering 1 play point to make this a 2-cost, and if we have our other academic followers, she might eventually become a 1-cost. Alright, next up we have Summoning Drill. So it's a 2-cost amulet, and it has stack, but when it comes into play, you put a Garfrom Golem token onto your field, and then it has another fanfare to discard a card and put a Strikeform Golem token into your EX area. Give each Golem follower on your field and in your EX area +1 attack. Alright, so I do believe that this is the card that's going to be replacing Alchemist Workshop. So on turn 2, you're going to get a Garfrom Golem, and if you have something like maybe a Riley in hand that you don't really want and put into your cemetery, which you're going to be using for those 6 play points later on in the turn, you can go ahead and put a Strikeform into your EX area, go ahead and get a 1/1, and then on top of that, you're going to give all your Golem +1 on the field and in the EX area. Alright, and next up we have Witch of Foresight. So she's a 2-cost 1/3, you can evolve for 1, but when she comes to play, you look at the top card of your deck, you may put it into your cemetery. Alright, so for my spell chainers out here, I think this is going to be another card along with Spectral Wizard that you're using to look at the top card of your deck, put it into your cemetery so you can get into spell chain a lot easier. Alright, and then we have the Witch of Foresight evolve. So she turns into a 2/4, and then on evolve, you look at the top card of your deck, you may put it into your cemetery, and then you draw a card. Alright, so this is another good evolve for Spell Chain. I would like to see if this is a pretty good test out by looking at the top card and putting it into your cemetery. And also on top of that, with this evolve effect, being able to just draw a card. I really do like in this effect that you're able to look at the card before putting it into your cemetery, and if you don't want it in there, then you can just go ahead and choose not to because it says may. And then if you want to keep the card, you can go ahead and draw it with this evolve ability. Alright, next up we have Beastfaced Mage. So it's a 1-cost 2/2. Last words, you summon a magic sediment token, but you can also activate to engage this card Earthright. Select enemy from the field and deal it 2 damage. Alright, so now we have an option to play a little bit lower to the ground when playing dirt. So of course on turn 1 we're going to play our amulet that's going to either heal us for 3 or let us draw a card, or let us look at top 4 for an Earthright target, which this can be one of them. Now we have a second play. Now if our opponent's going to be playing a little aggressive, we can deal with their followers. Alright, and then we have Onion Patch. So we were talking about Onion Patch earlier. So he's a 1-cost 1/1. He has Rush, and if there are at least 5 Onion Patches in your cemetery, give his follower Storm, and strike, select enemy from the field, and deal 1 damage. You can also put up to 50 Onion Patches in your deck. So with the Onion Patch Master that we're looking at, these are the cards that you're going to be putting in your deck to be playing for free. They're going to have Rush, so you're going to be swinging into those followers that are swinging into you. And of course, with a very good solid heal engine in your deck, I think this is going to be a pretty fun deck to play. Alright, next up we have Tico, Mysterian Spell Nerd. So she's a 2-cost 2/3. She has Ward, and then last word, so when she dies, look at the top card of your deck. If it's an academic card, you may reveal it and add it to your hand. Alright, so if you're going to be playing the academic deck, this is not a bad card to be looking into to slow your opponent's game plan down. A 2-cost 2/3 can go a very long way, especially if it has Ward and less words. Alrighty, and lastly we have Staff of Whirlwind. So it's a 4-cost spell. You deal X damage to each enemy leader and each enemy follower on the field. X equals the number of Runecraft followers on your field. Alright, so I believe that this card is going to be magnificent in that Onion Patch deck. That's just because you're going to be flooding the field with those Onion Patches, and if you have a maximum board, you're going to be dealing 5 to face and 5 to field, and then you'll still have those Onion Patches that potentially have Storm. Alrighty, and lastly we have our Faust UR. So a 5-cost 4/4 that's going to have wonderful fanfare abilities and the Earthright effect to give a +1/+1, and Faust is looking absolutely amazing in this card art. But alright soldiers, we got through all the crafts. All we have left is the neutral craft, and on Friday I think I'm going to be going over the starter decks, but I'm not sure here. They're going to be like, I think they're expansion decks for the certain engines. I don't know how exactly in Shadowverse Evolve we're going to be getting them, because we didn't really get a good explanation of what this extra stuff is. I know that their names are very different in JP, but they didn't really talk about it too much in set 9. Or if I might have misspoke in that last sentence there, I'm very sorry. You know, let me know in the comments below, because there wasn't really a good clarification when I did my research on looking at those cards, because there is a pack that's going to have Forte in it, and there's a pack that has the academic stuff for Runecraft. So if any of you know anything about that, you know, message me on Discord or anything like that, or fill me in the comments below. Whatever's more comfortable to your fancy. But alright soldiers, make sure you're safe in whatever you do tonight, and safe whatever you do for the rest of the year. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Yeah. T-R-I-double-N. Just to get you away. What I got to do. What I got to do. Just to get you away. What I got to do.